Heroes. I wanted to talk about that. Everybody on the planet was making fun of me because I kept quoting heroic quotes like All Might's meddling when you're not supposed to is the very essence of being a hero and all that stuff. And I was all about that shit. Play The Legend of Zelda, you rescue a woman, and I remember even being at work and making the statement, I saved some 300,000 women and I still couldn't get a wife. It was around that time somebody revealed to me that the church puts in overtime to make sure all women stay away from me, so it's not my fault women aren't attracted to me. These losers use all their church resources to terrorize me instead of actually doing something beneficial with their time. They also crash planes into the Twin Towers, so there's that too. The What I was getting at with this is hero stories are delusional. Unless you are an actual Superman and you can tank bullets and can't be stopped. Hero stories are delusional because here's the cold facts. If you stop there in American history and in the history of the world, when organized crime has ever been stopped, it has been stopped by somebody that had to make the sacrifice in court, which, just like so many other broken systems in America, why would you have a system that did that to somebody? That is one of my biggest pieces. One, court should be easily accessible. It should be. If you have a problem, you should be able to call the court and go, I'm coming to court. And they once again, lawyers should be forced to represent you. They shouldn't have a fucking choice in the matter. There shouldn't be any of this bullshit about money. And finally, the whole reporting organized crime, you have to get yourself killed. That's the only way that's gonna work. And I remember even the FBI explained that to me, and I was like, that's really dumb. And they're like, well, in the court system, they have to know who's suing, and it has to be fair. I was like, but you're dealing with people who are violent, stupid people. I was like, if you're dealing with violent, stupid people, the court should protect you. Once again, the U.S. Army, if you were a U.S. citizen, the U.S. Army should be at your disposal. So when something like this happened, you should have a gang. You should have your own church. It should be the motherfucking U.S. Army on your side. And they should show up and be like, oh, did you guys poison his shit? And then they should just execute everybody in the kitchen. On principle alone, just to send out the message. Why this is a bad idea. And then blame the other side for the mass shooting. They did it because they poisoned this guy's food. We don't live in a just world. We live in a stupid world. But with these guys, when they're talked about heroes and shit, their whole thing is it's part of the lead brain. The lead brain people don't have long-term memories. They don't have good memories at all, so you can just write history and claim things that aren't fucking true. Okay? You can pretend to be the good guy when you're the bad guy. Which is why they have the real history guy out there. But on the subject of heroes, like, I remember this kind of, it is childish when I was president, but I was high on all the drugs, mind you. And the wives have an obsession because they thinking like a 2-year-old is the superior psychology. That's the best way to be, is to think like a 2-year-old. The wives, when I was out there, I was talking to a bunch of the women I had sex with. And I really, really wanted to be with one of them. I don't remember which one, but I remember it was kind of part of the decision to either go back to my family. And remind you, I had a cadmium brain, so I would just forget shit. And I kept making mistakes because I had a cadmium brain. So I would do chaotic, crazy shit, and people thought I was crazy because I was crazy. I had a cadmium brain. But this is what happens when you ignore the needs of others. And this church has an obsession with ignoring the needs of others. As a result, you should probably just ignore everything they do, because they're going to do the same thing to you. One of the dumber events I just remembered was Anal Eating Mummy God talking about, you can give yourself chelation therapy, and he went on about how easy it was until I told him, you can't buy EDTA on the market, and I realized it's only about 4 years ago when they actually legalized it, so you could buy. But then I was like, that's not going to have like a bad effect, like destroy your teeth in any way, is it? And then he was like, this is why you shouldn't do everything yourself, and there's a reason why it's called therapy, and there's a physician that administers it. It's to make sure you don't do $100,000 worth of damage to your own teeth. And not just in everything. Some people are really stupid and might think that, oh, every therapy means... No. The reason there's a professional there is to make sure you don't fuck up. Okay? My father has a thing about self-repair on the fucking Cherokee, but he's a goddamn imbecile, and everything I've repaired on that truck, including the crankshaft pulley, it's called a harmonic balancer, I just pulled that the other day, was fucked up because he fucked it up when he did it himself because he's a fuck-up. Okay? I don't have tolerance for this shit, because it's how stupid people think. And I remember Anal Eating Mummy guy trying to explain to me, it's not that hard. People love telling you things aren't that hard when it's easy for them, and you'll hear that a lot from rich people in particular. They'll go on about how something's not that hard, it's not that hard, it's not that hard, and they'll keep doing that, because they're retarded, and you can't reason with them because they're retarded. Okay? It was easy for them because they have mountains of money to unfuck themselves. And this isn't me ranting and raving, this isn't a joke. Every billionaire you know was handed that money. They didn't earn it. They didn't do anything extra special for it. It was handed to them. They're not special, they're not unique, and they're just as stupid as normal fucking human beings, and they are stupid, okay? Something about being rich and your only solution is money to solve all your problems causes you not to think. As a result, when you come across people who think, you get pissed because you're stupid. I feel like Frieza, quit being stupid! Like, whatever, dude. Yeah. The subject of heroes, like, I remember going on about that and talking about, like, dude... I said this quote to Jasmine. I was like, I took down the church, so now I should get to be king. And I said that as a joke. I wasn't being serious. I didn't realize what that entailed was I had to follow their stupid, retarded rules and had to become a complete piece of shit because they believe being a complete piece of shit is the highest psychology. Is being the worst person you can possibly be in existence is somehow good. Like... These people couldn't be good people if they had to. Like I said, if Jesus came back and told them to be good people, they'd be like, oh! Jesus, you fucking lib. Like, there is this is, I guess, just gonna be more of a rant, but one of the things that did agitate me, when dealing with these people, because everything is just hurt you. It's just hurt the other guy, hurt them, because suffering is good for you. And I would argue they themselves are, and I remember this is the shit with their victim brain. And once again, that shit where they're murdering women, eating corpses, and eating their brains, and mutilating people, and then they go, we're the victims. Like, dude, maybe my wish should be they're never allowed to ever say they're the victims. They're just supposed to say they're complete pieces of shit on every level. They're just garbage. They're just garbage human beings and nothing more. They are immiserated by their own religion, and misery loves company, so they just immiserate everybody because they're fucking miserable. But I remember this most self-righteous thing I ever heard anybody say. This was from Blondie, who was calling me self-righteous. We're going to do a little bit of a rant about Blondie here in a minute. He was like, I don't ever make mistakes, and you need to understand that what happened was all your fault. It was all your fault. I'm the victim, and it's because he doesn't have agency or accountability, which are two things men has, so he's a child. He's a 2-year-old. And you're not going to reason with that or explain it to him. And I'm going to get into how much of a 2-year-old Blondie is in a minute. when you're a child, there's this age where you want to do everything through force, and I'd argue that's why these guys do everything through force, because they think like a 2-year-old. They're gonna force you to do it no matter what. I don't care. I'm a retard. I'm neurotic and weird because I drink lead. I'm neurotic and weird because I drink lead. Like, great. That retard needs to be in charge of something. But yeah, Blondie was explaining to me the women getting killed when they were going back into human trafficking. All the horror that was happening was all my fault because he didn't know when to quit because he's a retard. And then he wouldn't admit he's retarded. He just argued it was all my fault. This later, when I was at Papa John's, because this is around the time where Blondie didn't understand he won. Because when you cheat to win, it doesn't feel like a victory. Okay? That's what Blondie does. They have a thing. Keep them fighting one hand behind their back. Just cheat at everything. Like, just cheat at everything. Don't ever play fair. Play dirty no matter what. And when you understand that about these people, and it like... I would argue everybody should just play dirty against them and then go, that's how that is. That's how that is. Like, and just fucking do that until they understand that it makes everything pointless when you think like that. It makes everything pointless when you think like that. We were playing video games. I was playing with my brother. I didn't realize it was Blondie, but I kept whooping his ass. I think, what was the game? It was either Halo or something like that. I was whooping his ass because I have skills from playing Halo, even with a retarded brain, mind you. I had bad motor functions, and I kept having to look down at my controller. At the time, something about the heavy metal poisoning caused me to fall into a depression when I played games, so I couldn't play games for more than like 30 minutes at a time. Fun fact. Yeah, I still can't. I just start crying for no reason. I get depressed, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm fucking depressed. I'll just quit playing. At this time, I literally had to look at the buttons on the controller, and I was still whooping Blondie's ass. I might have been Call of Duty. It might have been Call of Duty. But it doesn't matter. I was still whooping down the spaghetti, you know. And Blondie kept freaking out on the, why? You're cheating. That's not fair. I can't handle losing because I'm an inherent loser. I have to cheat to win. And inevitably, he does mod. He started modding and he whooped my ass. And I remember when I was coming to work, because the guys at work, the Kevin and David guys are Blondie's yes men. They just tell him he's the greatest. He's the greatest. Nobody, he doesn't ever hear the truth from anybody, because under the threat of death, I'll kill you if you tell me the truth. I don't have to deal with reality. I hate reality. Nobody tells me the truth. And I was like, dude, I was telling the Kevin loser, I was like, fucking, this guy was freaking the fuck out last night on like Call of Duty. He was screaming and yelling and throwing it, and he was cursing. Something the church leaders aren't supposed to do. He was cursing. Yeah, talk about virtue signaling. And he was throwing the biggest tantrums, and then he started cheating. Yeah, he had the invisibility, he had immortality, and he had a bunch of other fucking mods so that he could beat me. And he beat me, but 30 minutes of playing, I fall into a depression anyway, so I stopped playing. And then Kevin's like, we got you because he modded and cheated, and he won! And I was like, oh, that's a shocker. And then Kevin, what? You cheated at it, so you won. And I remember this awkward stare. I was like, let's play a game of rock, paper, scissors, but I'm going to cheat. And he was like, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pull out a gun and shoot you in the head. You okay with that? He's, no. But I'd win. And I was like, let's have a race. I'll shoot you in the head and then I'll win. And I was like, hey, Kevin, let's have a beauty contest. I'll shoot you in the head and then I'll win. And I just remember this, which is why you shouldn't cheat to begin with, because that's what it puts forward. Inevitably, you have what's called, it's progression. It's police don't understand it. Escalation. Things escalate. You raise your voice, I raise my voice. You threaten me, I threaten you. You put hands on me, I punch you. Okay? That's how that works. It's called escalation. And when people find out the other guy's cheating, they start cheating. And that rips down the entire system, and they call it a rat race. And it turns into the dirtiest person that's willing to do the most amoral things win. And this is what these people want, because remember, your highest self is a complete piece of shit with no morals. That's stupid. Throw out your morals and just kill, and then you'll win no matter what. Yes, you will. But one, do you really want to put that forward as a real metric? Because Rome is the peak example of how many emperors were just killed back to back to back to back for power. Okay? And inevitably, if you were to get an entire society to believe that, you know what would happen? Everybody would just start murdering everybody to get what they wanted. And it would be normal, which is what happened in Rome. Even the rural folks in Rome spoke about how they believed the people in the inner cities were crazy. And they are crazy because they're lead brains. Which, that was another thing I wanted to touch on. Part of the Ubermensch is Nietzsche talks about if you're rejected by society, it's because you're a superior being and you're better than everybody. That or you have lead poisoning, because that lead poisoning makes you less agreeable and neurotic, and it makes people not like you. Yup. I said it. So these guys poison you with lead and then go, you're an Ubermensch, that's why they don't like you. It has nothing to do with the fact that I poisoned you with lead. Yeah. These are just kind of my thoughts for now. I think I'm in a situation that there's no true way out of, and like, whatever bullshit happens is what happens. I've always believed in controlling things, and you can control, and I can kind of control maybe taking down the church, maybe turning myself in, maybe, and these are all theoretical theories, but like, the other side is I really don't see anything worth saving. My life has value. And I would argue it has more value than anybody in this church, by the way, because they have no morals, and morals is what gives you value, by the way. Morals are your values. These guys don't have morals, they don't have empathy, they don't have sympathy, they have rules. And rules is obedience, okay? They have to mindlessly follow the rules obediently like a good doggy, okay? And I remember Anal Eating Mummy God was trying to explain to me that he's a good person, but he has to follow the rules. And I was like, then you're a bad person, because the rules make you a bad person. And he was trying to explain, this is the stupid shit. Even, they call you a god when you're president, but even as a god, you have to follow rules, which is the most retarded shit I'd ever heard in my entire life. I couldn't imagine, like, a real god. These people aren't gods, by the way. They're losers. They're delusional crazies. A real god, a god that can cause earthquakes, hurricanes, spread famines, murder, and death, and you're gonna go, you have to follow our rules? If you're dealing with a real immortal god that can take bullets, regenerate, bend the laws of physics and reality, and you're gonna go, you have to follow my rules? He would Thanos snap you out of existence. He'd be like, oh, I have to follow your rules? And then you would all just die. That's common sense. I don't know. Yeah. Sun's getting real low, big guy. I think we all wish our lives, I think the thing about suffering gives life meaning is everybody wishes their suffering gave life meaning, but I remember in Ackworth there was this hobo guy that just was fucking miserable, and I remember talking to him because I do that. I talk to people. People will never know this guy's story, but I know it. He was born into a Christian household. His dad used to beat his wife. His mom abandoned him when he was a kid, and then his father began raping him and beating him and telling him it was good for him. It was good for him. He got tired of that shit, and he ran away. He got a job at a gas station. He ended up getting an STD, and he ended up spending all of his money getting treatment for the STD. Not too long after that, he got fired because the girl he had the affair with was the manager's girlfriend. And he ended up not being able to get a job after that. Nobody would hire him, so he became a hobo. He started begging for money and living off the railroad tracks. All the way up until he eventually got some type of cancer, and one winter, he died. And his life was nothing but suffering. His entire life was nothing but suffering. And you might go, Bobby, I think suffering gives life meaning. What was the meaning in that man's life? He had nothing, and he died with nothing. And people were just nasty to him his entire fucking existence. And I'd argue the people that were nasty to him were like, we're giving his life meaning! It's good for you! Suffering! I love it! Like, and this is the thing about that. If you're a rich fuck, it's easy for you to say, oh, it gives your life meaning. But as soon as I do that to you, and you go, I want revenge, I want spite, you're full of shit.